I've been making videos about difficult workplaces and toxicity at work and horrible bosses for a while now. And honestly, it's the comments that you leave under my videos that genuinely floor me. The things people are having to put up with, the questions they're asking, and the relief that they find when they realise that they're not alone. So I thought I'd do something a bit different for today's video. I'm going straight to your questions and specifically the emotional side of all of this. What toxic work actually does to you and how you can start to recover from it. I've picked 4 questions that come up time and again. They're real questions from real people who've been watching my videos, and I'm going to answer them as honestly as I can. I've sat with enough people going through this to know that the negative effect of toxic work on you is real. Okay, so let's get to the questions. The first one I want to cover is, how do I recover from burnout when I'm still going through it? This is one of the most common things I hear, and it's actually quite hard to answer because the usual advice would be to step away from whatever it is that's causing you harm so that you can take some time to recover. But that advice assumes that you've got the option to step away, and not everybody can. Not yet anyway. So I want to be really honest with you. If you're still in the environment that is causing you harm, it's really, really hard for you to recover right now. It's like trying to heal from a wound that's being reopened every day. What you can do is limit the pain and limit the harm while you work on getting yourself out of there. Here's what that looks like in practice. First, stop trying to perform your way out of burnout. This is something I see a lot, especially with capable people in the charity sector. You think, if I can just get on top of things, if I can just work a bit harder, then things will work themselves out. But it won't. Burnout is not a productivity problem. It's a depletion problem. The answer isn't to find more energy, it's to try to stop losing so much of it. The second thing is to be absolutely ruthless about where your energy goes outside of work. I don't mean different productivity routines. I mean what genuinely restores you. And it may not be what you think should restore you, but what actually does. For some people, it's sleep. For other people, it's movement. For some, it's an hour alone with a book and no notifications. For me, it's getting myself outside and putting my hands in the soil and planting some seeds. Whatever it is for you, find it, protect it, and treat it as a non-negotiable. The third thing, and this might sound small, but create yourself a psychological commute, a 10-minute ritual that tells you that your work is over for today. Change your clothes, walk round the block, make a cup of tea in a specific mug. I was talking to someone earlier today, and she's got a string of fairy lights behind where she sits if you're on a Zoom call with her, and she's got them set to turn off every day at 5:30 p.m. It's a really strong signal that the day of work is done for her. All of these might sound too simple to matter, but I promise you they do. When I was a leader in really difficult environments in the past, it was exactly this kind of ritual that saved my evening. And lastly, start building your exit, even if it feels slow, because the knowledge that you're working on a way out, that this situation isn't permanent, is itself a form of recovery. It gives your nervous system something which it desperately needs, which is hope. In my past, I've always found gardening to be the ritual that I do that has helped me recover from really difficult work experiences. The second question I want to cover, which might resonate with many of you, is, why do I still feel panic when a new boss asks me for a quick chat? Now, I actually love this question because what it tells me is that the person asking it has done the really difficult thing already. They've got out of that toxic workplace of the past and now they're working somewhere new. So that gives me heart. They're somewhere better and they're probably feeling a bit guilty and a bit confused that their body is still reacting in this really anxious way. What's important to understand is that your body learned from that toxic environment that, can I have a quick word, meant that something bad was coming. It learned that a message from your manager meant trouble, that uncertainty meant threat. And it learned that through repetition over days, months, even years. And it can't unlearn all of that in just a few weeks, just because the context has changed. This isn't a character flaw, it's not weakness, it's conditioning. Your body's response to threat has been wired to a past experience that was genuinely threatening, and now it's working in the same way, even in one that isn't. The technical term for this is hypervigilance, and it's really common in people who have experienced prolonged stress or difficult working environments. Your brain got very good at constantly scanning for danger, and now it's not sure yet that that danger is past. So what do? Well, the first thing is to name it, and I hope by me talking about it that has helped a little bit if this is you. When you feel that spike of panic, instead of fighting it or instead of feeling frustrated by it, try saying to yourself, oh, there it is, there's that old pattern. You're not dismissing the feeling, you're just not letting it run the show. Second thing to do is to gather evidence. Every time your new manager asks for a chat and it turns out to be fine, write that down. It sounds so simple, but your nervous system is running on that old information. So you need to feed it new information that's appropriate to the current job that you've got now. Giving it new data deliberately and repeatedly will mean that over time, that pattern will shift. And thirdly, be patient with yourself. Recovery from a toxic environment is not linear. You may have 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's completely normal. Maybe you have a few good weeks and then a really bad one and you feel right back where you started. But that's just how healing works. It works in spirals and not in straight lines. And if these feelings are significantly affecting your life and your new job, maybe consider seeking the support of a therapist or a counsellor. This is a situation that speaking to a professional can genuinely help you find a way through. The third question for today is, how do I stop questioning whether I'm too sensitive after being gaslit for years? I want to be really clear what gaslighting actually is. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, so let's be really clear and specific. Gaslighting is when someone systematically causes you to doubt your own perception of reality. That didn't happen, they say. You're imagining things, you're overreacting. Everyone else is fine with it. Over time, you stop trusting your own judgment and you start to defer to theirs instead. This makes you easier to manage, easier to put in your place, easier to dismiss. It's a form of psychological manipulation and it's not accidental. And its effects, the self-doubt, the second-guessing, the constant worrying whether your reactions are valid, they can persist long after you've left that situation. So when someone asks me, how do I stop wondering if I'm too sensitive? My honest answer is slowly and with a lot of deliberate evidence gathering. This is what I suggest. Start noticing when doubt appears in your mind and ask yourself, whose voice does that sound like? Is it actually your voice? Or is it the voice of someone who for a long time told you that your perceptions were wrong? A lot of people end up finding that that inner critic is not actually themselves. It's borrowed. It was installed there by somebody who needed them to doubt themselves. Keep a record of your own reactions and what prompted them. Not to obsess, but to test your own perceptions against reality. You'll start to notice that your instincts are often right, that the things that upset you were actually upsetting, that the things that you found unfair were in fact unfair. Trust your body. Before the gaslighting really took hold, your body was probably telling you that something was wrong. The tension before certain meetings, the dread, the relief when a particular person wasn't in the office. Your body was registering threat accurately and it just took a while for your mind to catch up. Also, find people who know you really well, who knew you before and know what you're really like. Ask them what they see in you, not for validation, but as a reality check. Sometimes we need someone else to hold the mirror steady for us while we work out what's real. Being affected by harmful behaviour is not sensitivity, it's health. The people I worry about are those that have been in toxic environments so long that they've stopped feeling it. The fourth question I want to tackle today: what are some practical tips for readjusting to worklessness or a gap in employment after 30 plus years? This question names something that doesn't often get spoken about, and that's the support that you need in the gap after you've left a toxic working experience. There's a lot of support, well, some support for leaving a toxic job, and I can point to some of my other videos that cover that. But we don't often talk enough about what support you need once you've left that toxic job, particularly if you're in a gap or a transition to the next thing. That gap can be really disorientating, especially if you've been in that job a long time. Your work has probably been a significant part of how you understood yourself, of your identity, your routine, your sense of making a contribution. When that disappears, even if leaving was the right thing to do, it can feel really strange. A few things that I've found that can really help. Give yourself a genuine fallow period, a bit of a gap if you can. An actual period of rest without trying to fill the time with productivity. Your nervous system needs to decompress. This might feel uncomfortable, it might feel lazy, it might feel frightening, but do it anyway. You've probably been running on empty for a long time. You need to let the tank refill. You need to figure out the difference between rest and drift. Rest is intentional and drift is sort of aimless. Drift is what happens when you haven't decided what you want to do next and the days start merging into each other. When people drift, they tend to start becoming more anxious, not less. So ideally, within your rest period, keep some structure. Not necessarily a timetable, just a few anchors in the day, whether that's a walk in the morning, a coffee at lunchtime, a specific time when you stop looking at your phone, something that marks the day as having shape. Be careful how you talk to yourself about this gap. Our culture of working hard, battling through, is really bad at this. There's often a subtle message that if you're not working, if you're not contributing, then you're not quite yourself. That's not true, and it's worth challenging it actively if you notice it coming up. Take time to think about what you want the next chapter to look like, not just the job title or the organisation. What kind of days do you want to have? What kind of relationships do you want to have with your colleagues, if any? This gap, difficult as it is your opportunity to be deliberate about what comes next. You've got an opportunity which is rare. You get the opportunity to really choose and be deliberate about your next thing. And practically let people know that you're available, not in a desperate way, just quietly to people that you know who respect your work. A lot of opportunities come through conversations and not applications. I've got 2 experiences of being made redundant in my career. One came about 5 years in, and I just panicked and just got the next job that I could possibly get. I didn't think about it at all, and that was a really bad mistake as I look back. And then about 6 years later, it happened again, and I try not to take it personally. And that time I was much more deliberate about what I wanted to do next. And it was that I took a step back, I did a master's, and I then navigated to the voluntary sector. So I really used that gap to move me forward. So that's what I would sort of recommend if you possibly can. If finances allow, take a bit of a step back and try to give yourself some space to really think about what you want to have in your career going forward. Thank you so much to those of you who've contributed towards these questions. Genuinely, you all help me make content that I hope is genuinely useful to you, because I do respond to what you're asking me. If any of what we've covered today resonates for you, whether that's the burnout question, the panic response, the self-doubt, or how to deal with a gap, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what's going on for you. Tell me how you're getting on with it. I do read every comment. And a couple of last things before I go. If you're working through whether to stay or whether to leave a difficult job, I have a workbook called Should I Stay or Should I Go? I'll pop the link down in the description. It's designed to help you ask yourself a series of questions to help you figure out the answer for you and your circumstances. And if you'd like to work through any of this with someone one-to-one, I also offer one-to-one coaching, and I've opened up a wait list. I'll also put the link to that in the comments too. If any of this was useful, a like will help more people find it. And also, amazingly, only about 15% of the viewers to my videos are actually subscribed to my videos. How rude. So do consider subscribing as well if you'd like to make sure you don't miss my next video. Getting outside in nature, whether that's gardening or just out for a brief walk, always heals me. Take good care of yourself, and thank you so much for watching.